The Oklahoma Sooners have a believer in the SEC title race.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Go check out his work covering college football and the Oklahoma Sooners over at Unfair Sports. My name is John Williams. You can read my work covering the Oklahoma Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. And on today's show, we're going to talk future non-conference opponents because that's a big talking point right now because of Big Ten and ACC media days. What could Oklahoma schedule starting in 2026 because they've got an open date? We're also going to talk about the trenches because that is where Oklahoma is going to make hay. If they're going to make any hay at all, it'll be because of their trench work this season. But let's start here, Jay. Matt Hayes of USA Today Sports, during SEC Media Days on That SEC podcast, said Oklahoma will win the SEC.
Bold take right there. And of course, y'all know that us here, we're very high on what the Sooners are able to do and what the possibilities are. But this is the quote. I think John Mateer is going to play really well, and that defense will be as good as any defense in the league. They're going to shock some people this year. Look, this is what we've been preaching, John. Now, I totally understand everybody that is going to be reserved. I totally understand the cautious optimism behind it. I totally understand not wanting to drink all of the Kool-Aid and really dive into it head first like we have already, but everything's lining up perfectly for it. The only reason why, I have not lost my mind on the Brent Venables era is that the one position we expected him to improve and make Oklahoma better at is defense. And it's gotten better year after year after year to the point that Cole Kublik over there has already spoken and said that he believes Oklahoma has the best defensive line in the SEC. No question. That is high praise. That is high praise for someone that studies the SEC like he does. Phil Steele gives Oklahoma a top 2 defensive line in the conference, tied for number 1 basically with a couple of other teams. You're seeing other evaluators say the same thing. So the Oklahoma Sooners are heading in the direction of a Brent Venables type team where if he was defensive coordinator, this is what they would look like. Mm-hmm. So John, now we need to just see the offense pop with it. And having Ben Arbuckle with a veteran like Kevin Wilson to kind of overshadow and be there to help. And the rumor is that Ben Arbuckle is leaning in on everybody. John, I'm staying as bullish as I was before.
Well, it starts with the defense, and that's what you want it to start with a Brent Venables team. You want a defense that's going to be really good. Can they get to sub 20 points per game on average this year? I think they can, because they're going to have a defensive line that's a little bit better, a little bit more veteran. You're going to have more experience because, listen, one of your better defensive tackles last year was a true freshman, making his first swim through college football in the SEC. And he was really good. He's going to be better in year 2. David Stone, who didn't get a ton of playing time, going to be good this year. He's going to be a rotational player, but he'll be really good. Grayson Halton going to take another step forward as well. Dominic Williams, I think in his second year in the Brent Venables system, he'll be really good. We'll talk more trench work later, but this defense is setting up to be Brent Venables' best during his tenure at Oklahoma. And a lot of it is also going to be on the offense too, that the offense is going to be good. It's not going to put the defense in as many compromised situations. How many times did that defense have to play from their own side of the 50 last year? So many times. And still, they would hold teams to a punt or a field goal after a turnover a lot of times in their own end of the field. So I'm bullish on this defense. I'm bullish on the fact that they're going to be one of the better defenses in the SEC. It may not be right at the top. It very well could be right at the top. It's going to be a hotly contested battle to figure out who becomes the best defense in the SEC between Texas and Oklahoma and Georgia and who else? Maybe Alabama. Like, we can throw Alabama into the mix, but if the offense is good at all, this team is going to have a chance to be a threat in the SEC.
I mean, how many times did we see this defense cause a turnover and then we gave the ball right back and not be able to hang on to it? And that, to me, is something you're going to see a change. Now, I've put these expectations out there for everybody. Going to caution you, be prepared for more turnovers from this team, especially in the interception range. John Mateer is going to definitely test things out. He's going to test drive it. He's going to hit the highway, and, he's going to speed a little bit. He's going to get a ticket. He's going to get a ticket here or there because you're going to have to. But the thing is, he's got to test the limits to see just how powerful this vehicle is. And in a lot more situations, he ain't going to get a ticket. He's going to go ahead and speed right past everybody and be like, nope, we're not going to touch it, because he has the talent around him in comparison to what he had at Washington State. There's no shade to those players at all, but we know that this is a higher caliber of athlete that he has here with a lot more top 100 wide receivers in his room. And so we'll see. Now, I'm really curious to see who's going to be the one to step out. But, John, I'm curious from you. We talked about this a couple of days, but if there was an injury in the secondary, what player do you think it would hurt the most for them to not play?
Gentry, man. Like, Gentry is the guy that has the potential to be a top 50, top 100 type pick if he has a fully healthy season. And there might be some teams that are cautious on him because of the injury history when he goes to the NFL draft. But if he's medically cleared, there are going to be teams that are going to see the talent. And if he's 100% and he stays 100% all year long, that's a dude that can help you shut down one half of the field.
Yep.
You're really, really good at safety. I don't want to lose any of those guys, but I really, really like the depth and the potential there. Now, I would hate to miss Robert Spears-Jennings' experience because that matters a heck of a lot at safety. You don't want to have guys with a lack of experience at safety, but you need somebody to step up at cornerback. You don't really have a lot of clarity there, but if Gentry Williams is healthy and available all year long, I feel really, really good about that spot.
Me too. I think that he's probably the one that I feel like would hurt the most, especially because not only his talent level, but his size. He's a bigger corner. I need Jacoby to go ahead and pop off. I need him to pop off, and I need that trio of young guys to just be prepared to give us some minutes. Right, I mean, I would like J.J. Newcomb as well as Devon Jordan to give us something, but I need that trio of bigger corners to be prepared to play. A Malik Hawkins, a Tristan Haynes, right, a Cortland Guillory, which we've been hearing about Cortland like crazy. So obviously he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's here to really prove everybody right or wrong. But I looked at that as who would hurt the most, mainly because with this defense, we know the front seven is going to be very strong. We're at the point where we can trust in that. And we'll talk more trenches in a minute. But that secondary is now the spot, to me. The two positions we need to prove ourselves on, John, offensive line and secondary, mainly corner. Because that's where we kind of struggled last year. We were giving up big plays. We can avoid those big plays. We just now got to do it. But I do think that we're at the point where we're probably going to go ahead and overcome that.
Well, and the good news is it's not going to be 100% on the defense to go win a football game.
Yeah, not anymore.
The offense is going to be good enough that the defense can have a lapse. They can give up a big play and it not be a backbreaker. Like, you remember that Tennessee game and they hit that one big pass play? When that happened, you're just like, well, it's probably it, because the offense can't really move the ball. And then they hit another big pass play.
So much pain. Much pain.
Again, you're like, okay, now we're down 19-3. That's probably church at this point.
Yep.
And it was. Michael Hawkins did his best to bring him back in that game, but it wasn't going to be enough.
He was a fighter.
Yep. And so it's not all on the defense. You're going to have a little bit better complementary football this year, and I think that's going to matter a whole heck of a lot to what this team is able to accomplish. But again, Matt Hayes, believing that Oklahoma can go win the SEC championship this year. And I might not be that high on Oklahoma, but I can see it. Like, I can see the possibility of it. It's not outside the realm of possibility for me. What's it going to take, though? It's going to take good trench work. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you are all about baseball under the lights, golfing on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more spicy and a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get into the game while your friends are getting sunburned over there at the beach. Like for me, I jump in there and I like check out the baseball matchups, and FanDuel makes it easy to get in there. I get fast payouts, and they make every single regular season game a match that I have to watch. Baseball has a lot of games, so things can get kind of slow. But the good thing is because I can jump into the action with FanDuel, now I'm fully vested with my same game parlays, ready to see what happens before we even get to football season. But hey, if you want to do that, if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, I asked this question both on our Locked On Sooners Twitter account and on our YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to that. Be part of the conversations. Follow us on social media. But what is the biggest question for Oklahoma going into fall camp? And I'm not going to say it was unanimous, but it was unanimous, like 95%, like almost unanimous, basically within the margin of error. Offensive line is everybody's biggest question going into fall camp.
Yeah, because everybody wants to know how healthy we're going to be, and there's a lot of facts that goes behind that. I've seen like you have basically Taylor, Everett, Sexton, Branson Hickman when he was here was hurt, Bates, Tarquin, Hatchett, all of them missed substantial amount of time. Fabichue was the only one that gave you a full season. But Brent Venables even said this, John, at SEC Media Days. They asked him about the Alabama win. And I really loved his response because, Cliff's notes of this, basically what he said, and you probably can find it on our Locked On, either on the Twitter account or on the channel here in the shorts or on the TikTok. Probably go check out TikTok. It's probably easy for you to find it there. But, Brent Venables answered that, and he's like, that was an example of what this team was supposed to be all season. That was the game we were all healthy. That was the game that we were playing consistent ball. That's the game that shows you what this team was supposed to have been the entire season. And it was a great example. We knocked off the number 7 team in the country, knocked them out the playoffs. For us, that was a huge win, not only in just saying that we finally got ourselves a win and we at that point we were bowl eligible, but it was a big time reminder and confidence of, no, we can do this. All we need to do is make sure that the players that we need to play go out there. And don't get it twisted. Bama has a big defensive line. They got a lot of NFL dudes on the defensive line going into this coming draft. And so because of that, we reminded everybody that we have the talent to be able to compete in the SEC when you're playing a team like this, in which Alabama was destroying. I mean, heck, they beat up on Georgia. Georgia won the SEC championship. Like, don't get it twisted. That became a shootout, and it was just a battle back and forth, but they did that. And so because of that, we know what this team is capable of, John. That game will forever remind you, hey, if you're healthy, you can do this. We just need them to be healthy. But the good thing is, John, I think we've got 2 deep, and we should be safe going into the season for these Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, and the offensive line had a really good game in that one. But you also got really good performances from Xavier Robinson and Jackson Arnold running the football. And that's a lot of what it's going to take to go win games this year, is the offensive line creating lanes for this team to run the ball. Right now, I think most people are projecting an offensive line of Jacob Sexton at left tackle, Eddie Pierre-Louis at left guard, but don't sleep on Heath Ozida either. The dude played over 600 snaps last year. Troy Everett at center, although there's some buzz out there that Jake Michaela could come in and push him for that starting center job. And then at right guard, you got Fabeche Wewu, and then you got at right tackle Derek Simmons. I think that's probably most people's projected starting 5 along the offensive line. And it's a good mix of experience, transfer portal additions, blue chip guys that you recruited in Sexton and Eddie Pierre-Louis, And again, Heath Ozida was a 4-star prospect in his own right. So it's going to be intriguing to see how that all plays out. But to me, that is ultimately the key. John Mateer could be great. Jaden Ott could be fantastic. Xavier Robinson, Taylor Tatum, Javonte Barnes could be wonderful. The wide receivers could be really, really good. But if the offensive line isn't good, you're going to have a really hard time winning enough games to go in the SEC as Matt Hayes believes that they can, or contending for a college football playoff spot. And that's where it all starts, up front along the offensive line for Oklahoma. We knew this going into last year. The story is the same going into this year. You got to be good up front, and hopefully they're a little bit better. Hopefully they're a lot healthier. Hopefully they have consistency, and they're going to be able to build that chemistry. We don't know of any significant injuries throughout the offseason that have limited anybody. We do know that there were cleanup procedures done on Logan Howland and Heath Ozida, but that's different. And Jake Taylor. That's different. Like, that's not, you had these guys in fall camp or in spring ball and they got injured and now you're not sure if they're going to be available for the start of the season. Okay, you got to see what they're going to do in fall camp. But the 5 that you're projecting to be starting for you, they're healthy going into fall camp. And that's a great place to start.
That's what you want. And for those 3, they'll be ready. They're slated to be here for fall camp. So again, that gives you a 2 deep. Plus, you're going to add Fasusi and Fogier into that scenario. And that's 2 additional components to go along with the transfers you brought in Baklinko, as well as Mikla and Derek Simmons. So you add, that's 5 more players that 3 of them have experience playing ball against some really good defensive lines. Don't get it twisted. The ACC has some solid defensive lines, so they've seen some stuff. Derek Simmons has to prove himself, but he's big enough. As long as he's got a technique down, he'll be fine because he's going to be really hard to move. Dude is very country strong. But when you bring in Fasusi and you bring in Fogier, though, John, a couple of players that already have the size and ready to play at this level, you don't have to throw them out immediately either.
Right.
But if they figure it out against, they're going against one of the best defensive lines in the country, and that they're able to figure it out early, give them a few spot snaps here or there, but that gets you 2 deep easily. So now you're not as concerned if you have an injury, someone comes out, you've got a couple freshmen you're willing to play today. You can even probably go even a little bit down to the 3rd deep. That's just how many players you have on this roster that have experience playing in this conference and being beat up. Remember, we've seen some of these guys win and we've seen them lose, John. So Bill Beatonbow understands, okay, you fix your technique here. You get better at anchoring here. You get better at your hand placement here. You'll be able to compete, because the ones that they didn't feel like could compete, they went in the portal. Please believe. They hung on to the ones they want to keep.
Yeah, another guy that we haven't really mentioned that Brent Venables made a point to mention when Brandon Drum asked him during SEC Media Days, who are some young guys that you're expecting to contribute this year? Daniel Akinkunmi.
Yep.
The UK product that came to Oklahoma. UK Dan, redshirted last year, didn't really play much. Got a few snaps, but nothing really significant. He mentioned him by name, and I don't think that that's by accident. If anything, it's just showing, hey, this is a guy that's done the work that we've asked him to do this offseason. I'm going to reward him by at least giving him some positive pub going into the season. So, I mean, if he's on your 3 deep, if he's one of your 3rd team guards, like, that's still pretty solid. Again, it's a guy that's developing. It's a developmental game. You got to keep developing these guys. But if you feel confident enough in a player that you're willing to mention him by name at SEC Media Days, there's something to that player. So we didn't really get to talk about the defensive line. We'll have to do that on tomorrow's show, Jay. But I think we're both feeling fairly comfortable that the offensive line is going to be better than what it was last year.
Yeah, there's no reason for it not to be. We've seen what it looks like when it's healthy and it's ready to play. And we know Bill Beatonbow is still the offensive line coach. So this is the most veteran. This is the 2nd most veteran offensive line we've had in the BV era, in the Brent Venables era. 2023 is probably the most veteran one that had the most snaps and the most dudes with continuity. And then you had a 1st rounder there in Tyler Guyton. And so this year, you'll probably get closer to that. And heck, if things go right with the quarterback spot with John Mateer showing up and showing out and Jay Knott, this could be the best line that Brent Venables had. This is already the best roster that Brent Venables has had. This could end up being the best line, period.
Just to run this down real quick before we get out of here and talk non-conference schedules in the next segment. Jacob Sexton has 991 career snaps. Eddie Pierre-Louis, only 65 snaps. He's a young guy. You're expecting him to continue to develop. Troy Everett, 1,400 snaps. Fabechi Wiwu, 2,400 snaps. Derek Simmons, 1,500 snaps. And then in your two deep, Jake Michaela, Luke Baklenko, Heath Ozida, Logan Howland, all have at least 500 snaps to their ledger.
Look at that.
That stuff is valuable. Having experience is valuable,
Huge.
Especially for guys like Heath Ozida and Logan Howland. Not everything went great for them last year, but they got better. They had some good moments. They showed some flashes of potential. Just keep leaning into that, keep developing that, and let's see where they go. So much has been made about conference schedules, non-conference schedules from the Big Ten, the ACC, SEC, Big 12. Everybody's talking about schedules. Let's talk about the future non-conference schedules for the Oklahoma Sooners and who might be some potential options with some open dates on the calendar coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, non-conference schedules are the hot topic of media days as the Big Ten and ACC are going right now, which will wrap up the Power 4 media days as we get ready for fall camp for the Oklahoma Sooners. It starts on July 30. So we're close, man. We're less than a week out from fall camp, which is crazy that we're finally here.
We are right there. We're coming to the finish line, guys, and fall camp starts next week. It's football time in America.
That's right.
We there.
So with no clarity really on whether the SEC will move to a 9-game conference schedule in 2026, the Oklahoma Sooners right now are sitting with just 3 conference opponents in 2026 and 2027 and 2028. In 2026, they'll play UTEP at Michigan and then home against New Mexico. 2027, they get Pac-12's Utah State, the ACC's SMU, and the Pac-12 San Diego State. And then in 2028, Temple at Houston, which, okay, I'm not going to sleep on that Houston game because they just signed they've got a commitment from a 5-star quarterback that could be starting that game. And then Oklahoma will play Colorado State. So as you look at that, Jay, and we're looking at potential non-conference opponents for Oklahoma if the SEC stays at just 8 games, which I think is a legitimate possibility. Papa Sankey isn't going to be budged off of his stance that the SEC strength of schedule is greater than the other Power 4 conferences. So he's not going to be swayed to move to 9 games just because everybody else thinks that they should. So with that said, who do you think might be a good option for Oklahoma in the coming years?
So 26th, I expect Oklahoma to get someone cupcake-ish, probably like a lower tier P4 team.
FCS, maybe.
Nah, I don't think they go FCS this time around. We've already got New Mexico. We got UTEP. They may do something again with probably not Kent State, but something close. Maybe Colorado State, something like that. We got Colorado State in 2028, so we may actually add a second one to the schedule if they have something available in 26. But if you really think about it, with Michigan and you're traveling to Michigan, you ain't trying to do nothing that crazy around. Now it'd be nice if Indiana would, they have an opening. Why don't Indiana play against us? That would actually be a very interesting game. Do a home and home with Indiana in 26 and 28.
They don't want
to me, that touches everything that the Big Ten has said that they wanted. They don't want the smoke. They're not ready for that. But to me, that's the one you go for. You go for something of that nature. But Oklahoma's going to play something smaller, mainly because the Michigan game is on there, and that gives them 9 big-time games. And we know the Big Ten ain't got no big road ones. But if there's one I want, John, I want Nebraska at night. Figure it out.
Yeah, Nebraska would be a great one to have because it's Nebraska. It's Big 8 rival, Big 12 rival, a matchup that goes back a long, long time. If that one doesn't happen, and we talked about this a little bit before, Notre Dame has an open date next year. I know it would be a weird time to have it like in the middle of October or November. But how much would that move the needle in broadcast circles, amongst the networks, amongst the fan base, to have the play like a championship or play like a champion today? Sorry, I got it wrong. My apologies. Play like a champion today sign up for grabs. I mean, that one would be a lot of fun. I don't know if Oklahoma would go there in 26 or 27, but it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that would be one that we would thoroughly enjoy. But we ain't gonna probably get nothing like that. I don't even think Notre Dame wants to smoke. They know that they can control their destiny. So why would they put themselves in line? But let's get some ACC action. Heck, pick up the phone. Let's call up. We talked about this. I think Florida State would be one that would be intriguing to do again. We did that in the early 2000s after we beat them in the national championship. That was a fun one. People liked making that travel. They ain't got anything open because they're playing Alabama, but that would be one to something of that nature. We got Clemson coming in 35, 36, but move that game up. Let's go ahead and contract that for, I think Clemson actually potentially has an open in 27. Let's move that up. Get Brent Venables versus Dabo Swinney early. Want something like that. I need to make sure that Brent Venables still got a job, though. What about Wake Forest? Wake Forest should have an opening. There's a few different games you can do, but you're probably going to end up doing a lower tier P4 and use that as a warm-up game with the Michigan game sometime later in September. I'm here for it because we already know the SEC's not going to 9 games. Papa Sankey basically said that. Paul is like, nah, y'all not going to bully us. We good. Our schedule's tough enough. What are you going to how are you going to show us if your schedules can live up to ours? They can't. So, since that's the case, I don't anticipate us moving over into that or having to, because I don't even think that they're going to even expand the playoffs where it would make sense to do it. Plus, ESPN ain't trying to pay for it.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that the coaches don't really want a 9th conference game. Administrators don't really want a 9th conference game. And so the SEC is not going to go to a 9th conference game. I know everybody's wondering, they're itching. What do we think about a Bedlam rematch or Bedlam resurgence? Bring it back, reunite the Oklahoma State fan bases on the field. Well, the earliest that could happen without somebody having to be bought out or rescheduled would be 2029. Oklahoma State just has 2 non-conference opponents that year. Oklahoma's got open dates. That's not going to be an issue. Jay, what would you think about bringing Bedlam back starting annually in 2029?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't even think they deserve it. Like it doesn't feel like it's even worth our time at this point. It should be happening now. And it's not that hard to buy out Murray State. UT Martin. Not hard at all. But no, that's not of interest. So to me, this probably going to come back in 2029. But to me, I'm just like, I'm good. I know y'all want it. A lot of fans want it. But John, I'm good.
Part of me wonders if it would take Mike Gundy retiring for Bedlam to get back on the schedule. Because he said a lot of things about how he may not be interested in playing Bedlam anymore. We know Chad Weiberg and former president Casey Schrum lashed out at Oklahoma for leaving for the SEC. They may not want to do Bedlam anymore. I'm still for Bedlam. I think it would be great. I believe in-state rivalry should exist. And I know you're going to sit there and say Oklahoma State's not a rival. Okay, fine. Texas and Texas A&M aren't rivals then. Okay, if that's the same logic we're using, because Texas has dominated A&M for the better part of their history. It's one of those matchups that moves the needle in the state. It moves the needle between the fan bases. It moves the needle.
Really, though?
It does. It does, Jay. It does.
I don't feel it. I don't think it does, in my opinion. It just...
How pissed was everybody when we lost to Oklahoma State?
I mean, Oklahoma fans are supposed to be pissed. Oklahoma State fans aren't pissed when they lose. That's the thing about it. They just like,
No, they are. They're tired of being little brother.
But they'll never not be little brother. Like they've got 80 something games to be able to even catch up, get close enough to it.
My theory here, Jay, is that the wind went out of Oklahoma State football sails when Oklahoma fell off the schedule.
That means that we have to rescue them. Do we want to rescue little brother every year? No.
I don't mind doing a little charity here, Jay.
I do. Charity should be deserved to people that deserve and need charity. They had the T-Boone money and they fumbled the bag. That ain't our problem. That ain't our problem.
Good point.
We need to stop giving out. If there's an outreach I want to do, give me Tulsa. Let's take care of them people. Let's take care of the Golden Canes. Because they hired Kevin Wilson, even though they fired him, but they gave him a chance. Give me the Canes. We take care of them. I have no problem taking care of them. State.
Maybe my history with Oklahoma State doesn't go back far enough that I'm annoyed by them.
Yeah, goes back far enough for me. I hate their guts.
That's fine. Fair enough. Jay wins this round. If this was around the horn, I'd give him all the points on this one. He'd be going to the last word or final word. Was it?
Yeah.
What was it called? Final word? Last word?
Yeah, FaceTime.
Yeah. So Jay, here's your 30 seconds, unprompted, unscripted. Let them have it.
Look, Oklahoma State don't deserve an opportunity to play against Oklahoma right now because they had the opportunity to do it 2025 and they fumbled the bag. I hope they lose more money because they should have done what they're supposed to do and they could have made it happen. Besides that, guys, let's go ahead and look at somebody more fun for the non-con. Let's get us a lower end Power 4 so we have somewhere to travel. So it's somewhere cool and neat. I wouldn't mind going to Wake Forest. Let's hit up North Carolina. Shoot. Let's go to Boston College. I don't care. Anywhere except for Oklahoma State. Let's do it.
Oklahoma's going to go to San Diego State here in a few years.
Oh, I can't wait.
That's going to be beautiful in September. How great will that be? You know that OU alumni are going to be pumped for that road trip. Anyway.
Hardcore.
And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on every podcast platform and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube, covering college football and more Oklahoma Sooners content over there. You can follow me at John9 Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms: Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Pinterest, wherever you like to do your social media stuff, we are there. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. No, and I don't apologize, Poke fans. I don't. Yo, coach ruined.